All right, good evening. Welcome to the 12-Man podcast. Live on Facebook, on YouTube, on the fan network part of TalkSport, and all of the popular platforms that you listen to your podcasts. Got me, Steve Jackson, I'm your host for the evening. Got Mr. John Donovan with us, back from his week hiatus. Evening, JD.
No, then are you okay?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Yeah, all good, thank you. Birthday out the way, Christmas out the way, Bristol weekend out the way, and yeah, I'm ready to chat.
You make it sound like an inconvenience.
Yes, some of them were, but yeah, it gets in. Yeah, they were getting in the way of things, but thankfully I didn't miss any football.
No, well, there wasn't much to miss. I mean, we'll go through it, but yeah. And also, we've got Mr. Jacob Davis with us as well. Evening, Jacob.
Evening, you okay?
Yeah, good. You?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Moved into number 10 yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. 10 and a half. Right, okay. So, what we're going to go through, we're going to go through the festive schedule. Not the greatest, to be quite honest. Went into it with a lot of hope, came out with a lot of disappointment.
Questions.
So, yeah, and a lot of questions as well. Where's the high press gone? Where's the energy that we had gone? You know, is it just one place in the pitch that's a problem, or is it all the pitch? We'll go through all that. We'll see what people think as well, and then we'll preview the New Year schedule as well. We've got two games coming up. We've got Derby on New Year's Day and Southampton, so it doesn't get any easier, to be quite honest. So yeah, and then we'll cap off our 2025 as well. Obviously, this being the last podcast of the current year. So before we start, are we both all right?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Good. Before we start, obviously, news came out this morning from the club. I'll come to you with this one, JJ. The passing of Gordon Jones. Obviously, played for the club for 12 years, between 1960 and 1972. Made 462 appearances for the borough, which is the second most in the post-war appearance holders for the borough on record. You've had the pleasure of meeting him a couple of times, John. How big of a loss is he?
Well, first of all, I mean, to play for Borough 12 years, and have the record number of starts for an outfield player, and I was second most second number of starts, second highest number of starts behind Tim Williamson. It's fantastic. He showed great loyalty to the club. I never got to see him play, but I did meet him on a couple of occasions when I went to Middlesbrough Former Players Association sort of dinners or fundraisers, because he was a big part of that. He was a big part of like helping former players who probably fallen on hard times or needed a little bit of assistance. He was key. He was integral in that association, along with Jim Platt and others. And I've spoken to him a couple of times, and he was a really nice bloke. I couldn't really speak to him about his career because I wasn't. I never witnessed it. I just knew of his stats. But he was a really nice bloke, very humble. Very. He wasn't shy in any way. I think he was just privileged and happy that he played for the Borough for so many times. I heard the news late last night, and to be honest, I hadn't been aware that that he had some sort of illness. But it's a real shame. He was a Borough legend, purely and simply because, like I said, 12 years at the club, all those appearances, and he still continued to look after former players of Middlesbrough, whether they were his era or players who come after him. He was still trying to do things to help them. So that to me, he's a legend because he didn't just sit on his laurels. He actively worked hard to help others.
Yeah, he was big with his charity work, wasn't he? Like you say, helping others. So That's how I heard of his name as well. Obviously, the stuff he did post career. Obviously, all three of us were old enough to watch him, so we're all young lads. So yeah, it was. It was sad to hear this morning. He is a Borough legend for, like you said, for the amount of times he did play for the club, and to put that much loyalty and service into playing for the Borough. Yeah, it's always well looked upon. So yeah, I say thoughts goes to his friends and family and everyone related to the club as well. So right, let's get stuck into the Christmas schedule. So actually, before we start that, I know you weren't with us last week, JD, when we spoke about Bristol City. Obviously, you made the trip down. What did you make of the first defeat under Kim Hellberg? Obviously, we saw it as plenty of opportunities made. There's not enough cutting edge in the final third. Would that be fair?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we dominated the first half, but we just couldn't get the ball in the net, and we paid the price. I think it was probably one of their first real chances that Emil Rees scored, and unfortunately, I don't think Sol Bryn will have been too happy with how the goal came about. His participation in that. But I was still hopeful, that we could get back into the game. But it wasn't to be. They scored from a corner, a bit of a free header from the guy who come on as substitute, and 2-0. And the game, while not over at that point, it was slipping away from us. So it was a case of again a dominant performance, really, especially first half, but nothing to show for it.
Yeah, I'd say that's what we spoke about last week. I had a feeling you'd kind of agree with what we went through as well. Yeah, it was really disappointing that we didn't have the cutting edge. And say the amount of chances we've created is, the goals we conceded were disappointing. Especially the first one. I say it's a bloke that me and you have spoke about many times. But obviously, he was from his days from Preston, where he used to absolutely torture us there as well. So.
I mean, a game in which we had 70% possession, we had 20 or 25, 28 shots. I'm not sure exactly, and we got nothing from it. It's baffling, really, how we lost the game 2-0 when we were so not in control, rather in control of the ball, but not of the game. But yeah, it doesn't matter. We could have 90% possession, but if the scoreline shows us as 0 and the opponent is more than 0, then we're not going to get anything out of the game. So it's a disappointment.
Yeah, they say we can have all the stats and everything in front of us. Like you say, the only stat that really matters is the one in the top left hand corner of any screen that you look at when you're watching a football game. Unfortunately, if ours says 0, we're in big trouble. So yeah, really disappointing defeat. I just wanted to get your quick thoughts on it before we kicked into the festive period. Right, we'll start with Blackburn. Jacob, I'll start with you because we mentioned last week there was full house at the Riverside on Boxing Day. There's a lot of anticipation, obviously a lot of excitement. It's Boxing Day, everybody loves Boxing Day at home. It's going to sound a bit the same as Bristol City, isn't it? A lot of chances created again, and just not enough cutting edge, not enough in the final third. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think the first half, Blackburn almost played the game in two different games in terms of the halves. First half, I think for them it was all about staying in the game. So they were a lot more deeper in the first half than they were in the second half. But we should have scored 2 or 3 in the first half. Really, I don't think they had too much within the first half themselves. It was kind of a similar story. We didn't really finish the moments we created. Whitaker dragged a really good chance wide, if I remember rightly. towards the end of the first half, and then second half they come out and were a little bit more aggressive. Tried to win the ball back higher up the pitch. The wing backs played slightly higher up the pitch. They didn't change a lot, but what they did do very well is that they made it a bit more of a cagey end-to-end game, which suited them more than it did us. We just didn't really seem to have the control in the second half that we had in the first half, and in the end, I think a better team probably would have nicked a 1-0 win at Borough. I think in the second half there was too many transitions and too many counters that would give away. And like I said, I think a better team in the division may have scored a goal or two in the second half.
Yeah, I've got to agree with that. They say first half we looked in control at times, and there was always a threat of Blackburn on the break. You always had a bit of something up front that could potentially catch us out. But second half, some out chances we gave away to Blackburn. I actually sat there and I thought, we've got away with that one. They say Blackburn's always that team. I don't like coming to Riverside anyway. They're a bit like Coventry. But what's your thoughts on that, John? Would you agree? They say it was definitely a game of two halves, or how did you see it?
Well, overall, 90 minutes, I thought Blackburn were better, a better team than Bristol City, and yet they only got a point out the game. Some of it was down to our own failures. It was a bit nervy at times. We had to rely on a couple of superb last minute blocks from our centre half Edmondson. I mean, we lost 3 players in the game. It was a little bit of a change of not formation, but obviously certainly personnel. But we had decent chances. I mean, Whittaker hit one straight at Pers, came off his chest. Then Whittaker stuck one in the first half with his right foot. It hit the post and went right across the goal and went out for a goal kick. Another inch either side, and it hits the post and goes in. We were unfortunate there. But like I said, Blackburn, I thought, played quite well. I know they're not. I know they're not in any particular comfortable position in the league table, but they played well. I was nervous at times. I'm just pleased that we didn't lose that game. We didn't dominate it nearly as much as we did down at Bristol City. I mean, we only had something like 50-odd% possession and 10 shots throughout the game. I mean, it wasn't as dominant as the Bristol City game. It was a close call game, and yeah, Blackburn came out with a point. And really, when you look at their stats, they might have sort of regretted not getting all 3.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. I did feel watching it. Second half, I thought we're just setting ourselves up for failure here, because it seemed to me as the second half went on, we seemed to run out of legs. It's like I don't know. We looked a bit tired, and Blackburn seemed to gain in confidence. Like they'd got over the worst of it, the pressure they were getting from us, and they just pushed on. And I thought the only team that's going to nick a goal here it does look like it's going to be Blackburn. It was just so frustrating to watch, and I was so hopeful going into the game, but yeah, it was. I mean, it's a point game, but it's not a great point when you look at their position. But like you said, Blackburn played really well. Came to the Riverside, obviously looking for a point. Got exactly what they wanted. But the only thing, I mean, it's a recurring theme. You mentioned, JD, about the lack of shots on target at Bristol. was the same again against Blackburn. I think it was only 2 or 3 on target against Blackburn. Oh yeah, we had 10 shots on target. I mean, I'm going to talk about it again the whole game. Is that something that's starting to become a bit worrying?
Yeah, of course. I mean, if shots aren't on target, unless they get a deflection, then they're not going to really trouble the keeper. You know, we've got to be we've got to be more clinical. I mean, Hull last night, 1 shot on target, and they scored from it. There seems to be, and it's not something that's just under Hellberg. It's been under previous managers. We don't take the first opportunity to shoot. We try to look for a slightly better opening, but more often than not, it doesn't occur. We get closed down. And so the first opportunity that we haven't taken, it's lost. And we just end up smashing it into the legs of the centre half or a fullback. Yeah. And it's frustrating because just get your shots in, see what happens. Like I said, it could hit somebody and go in. We nearly had that against Hull. I don't know, shot from the edge of the box, but was it Hackney who stuck his leg out and it come off the post and into the keeper's arms? Yeah, try a shot and just see what happens. But I think we over elaborate at times and we take too many touches and the opportunity is lost.
Is that the lack of a plan B, do you think?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I think it's probably the decision making on the pitch. I'm sure it must frustrate Kim Holberg as much as it frustrates all the fans in the stands. You see a player and you think, go on, have a go. You've got an opening there, but he just takes it a little bit further and then he goes into a blind alley, a dead end, and the opportunity is lost. He must be as frustrated as we are. I wouldn't say it's plan A, plan B, whatever. It's just decision making in that split second on the pitch, and I think you know, whether it's players who are low in confidence and don't want to sort of risk having a shot. I don't know, but it certainly costs us throughout many games this season and previous seasons where we just try to take too many touches and just make for that perfect goal when really a goal's a goal. It doesn't matter how it goes in. Take your first opportunity if it's there.
That's it. It's as long as it's the back of the net, it doesn't matter how it goes in. It's the fact it goes in. So yeah, so it's food for thought. Obviously, after the busy schedule, it's something that you want to look at. Before I move on to the Hull game, because there's quite a bit I want to talk about the Hull game because that really did frustrate me last night. One thing, obviously, that John mentioned there, Jacob, was the injuries that came out of the Blackburn game. Obviously, three more got injured. I know, but obviously Target returned last night anyway. It turns out it was just a precaution for him. But we don't tend to have a very good injury record, do we? I don't want to say it's a concern because it obviously is, but it's happened for way too long, this, hasn't it?
Yeah, it seems to happen the last few seasons anyway, at least. I mean, we didn't seem to be too affected at the beginning of the season. I don't know if that's because we were doing anything different. I doubt we've changed anything drastically within the last couple of months. It was probably just because it was early season, so we didn't lose too many. But now the games are coming thick and fast. So you can't even say the team hasn't been rotated because it's been rotated quite heavily all season. The last manager changed his team quite a lot, and so far in Kim Hellberg's games, he seems to have rotated the starting 11, arguably too much at times, in my opinion. But that's a different point. So there shouldn't really be in terms of overplaying. I mean, the players that have actually played the most, players like Hackney, they aren't the ones who seem to get the injuries. It is often the same players, to be honest, a lot of the time. So you've got to question whether these at the right time, whether these players should be moved on. Some of them being good players, like McGree. I'm sure people will say, well, we miss McGree in the 3 games where we haven't scored a goal. But if we're only going to get 5 to 10 games a season out of McGree, then at some point we've got to look at that and think, well, is it worth paying his contract every year? Because we're not getting the max availability out of the players we've got.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. Like you say, that's a conversation for another day about them sort of players. They say conversations that are happening all the time. You see them all over social media. They say a lot came out after last night as well. But
can I just make another comment about Blackburn game? Obviously, I think everybody was surprised when the starting 11 was announced that Micah Hamilton was a starter. Now, I understand the manager wanting to have a look at him in game time, and if he looks good on the training ground, and he speaks to him, and he feels as though he's ready to start the game, and see for the manager to have a look at him in that situation. I can understand why he's done it, but it didn't pay off. He's done it with Alex Gilbert. He brought him back in, and he had the game he returned. He had a fantastic game. I think that was the whole game he returned, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And obviously Alex Bangura again played well when he come back. But unfortunately, on Boxing Day, Micah Hamilton didn't show anything really to sort of convince me that he should start many more. Now, I'd like the lad to succeed. Obviously, he's a butter player. I want him to succeed, but he's got to do more. And like I say, I can understand why the manager wanted to have a look at him, but it's a difficult time to do it. While we're sitting second in the league, every point's precious, and I just felt that we basically started with 10 men against Blackburn because Micah Hamilton didn't do anything of note.
Yeah, I say that was one player I was going to mention that really did disappoint me. He was given his big chance, obviously, to come into the team, fill the void that McGree has left from the Bristol City game. But yeah, he didn't do his chances any good. And rightfully brought off at half time as well. I say it wasn't great at all, which is a shame because I say that was his chance. Like you said, players like Bangura and Gilbert have all took their chances, but unfortunately he's not. Yeah, I think that's it for him, unfortunately. But if I could push you both for a man of the match for the Blackburn game, because there was a couple of good performances that I thought. I'll start with you, JD.
I'll say Luke Ayling. I thought he played okay. And there was nobody else really that I could say really sort of stood out because overall the performance was disappointing. But if I had to choose, I'd say Luke Ayling.
Jacob?
Yeah, I'm going to go with that. I agree. I don't think anyone was spectacular, but I think Ayling made one big tackle or one big block in front of the north stand in the second half, if I remember rightly, which again could have been the difference between not even getting a point. So yeah, I'll give it to Ayling as well.
I'm going to give it to Callum Britton. I thought he worked his socks off running up and down that right hand side. I don't think. I mean, we've picked him out as one of our signings of the season, and rightfully so. But he deserves a lot more credit for me, he's been brilliant. And I thought he was really good on Boxing Day. I say he was left isolated on that right hand side at times, and I thought he bossed it really well. As you noticed, all their attacks came from the other side of the pitch. So I say he bossed that side really well. And you could see his frustration as well when he was putting the blocks in and diverting the ball out for a corner or a throw in, whatever it may be. So yeah, I thought he did really well. It was against his former club as well, so he obviously wanted to prove a point that he's moved on to better things.
He's a star, man.
Yeah, he plays on the right. Very good. Right, we'll move on to last night to Hull. As I say, no Strelec again, which is really frustrating. I say he's another one that's not getting a full run in the team, and something's happening. And so he never got his chance last night. What did you make of the team last night, JD?
Well, I was struggling to name the four that I'd play in defence, the 4 or 5 that I would play in defence, because I didn't think Target would come through. I was pleasantly surprised when he was named, because it looked like a problem with his groin when he went off against Blackburn, and they're difficult injuries to try and recover quickly. But I was pleased that he was in. So overall, I mean, the team was good. The team was all right. The best of what we could do, like you say, Strelec, not even in the starting 11 or on the bench. Same for Dale Fry, and it's it's a worry. It's a worry that we've got these players out. I'm hoping McGree, his hamstring injury isn't too bad and he's back soon, because these are key players. But unfortunately, they're not key players when they're forever getting treatment. I mean, I really rate Dale Fry, but he's just not making the number of games consistently that I would like to see. And the same with McGree. When he does play, he's fantastic. He makes a huge contribution, but he doesn't make any contribution when he's laid on the treatment table. So it's just a real frustration with these injuries.
Yeah, let's say we mentioned last week. It looks like it's going to be around 4 weeks for McGree, so there's still a few weeks left until he's back. But it's just another frustration. I say Dale Fry seems to be suffering quite a bit as well now, unfortunately, with injuries, and he's a big miss in the centre of that defence. I say obviously Jones missing it last night after he was brought off against Blackburn. Another one that I've been really impressed with since he's coming from Hull. I'm sure he's been disappointed to miss the game against his former club, because he had a really good game at the KCOM. But Jacob, were you of the same impression? Let's say I couldn't have named a back four. Let's say I definitely didn't name the back four that did play. Let's say there's a couple of surprises that did play as well. The likes of Alan Brown coming in. I wasn't half expecting him to come in. What did you make of the team?
Yeah, it was okay. I mean, I wouldn't have played Gilbert. I think Gilbert's a League One player, and I wouldn't have played Conway. So I wasn't really that happy about it, to be honest, because I didn't really see too many goals coming from the team. So I'd have had Hayden Hackney, our best player, not playing on the wing, or off the left. I've had him in midfield. I'd have had Hansen in from the beginning. And I'd have played Bergzog or Naipan instead of Tommy Conway. So.
Is Tommy Conway starting to become a problem? I know he scored in the home game against QPR before Bristol City. But is he starting to become a problem? I know he does a lot of leg work and he does a lot of runs, a lot of the donkey work, I suppose. But is that really what he's paid for? For goals, isn't he?
The argument wears thin eventually. He's a striker and his job's to score goals. If if we're just going to sit here all season and go, well, the lad works hard. Well, Sen works hard, and Sen was 2 times better than Conway last night and got dragged off on 60 minutes, and Conway was on till 82. So if the argument, which I just find is a crap argument, that, well, he runs around, he works hard, because there's lads on that bench that would run around and work hard. So eventually
there's lads in the stand. There's lads in the stand who would run around all day.
That's what I'm saying. So that, to me, a professional footballer can't be getting applauded because he works hard. To me, that is it should be a given. So again, I think it will be. I think the fans have been really patient with Conway. What was he scored 3 goals all season?
Yeah.
I think he started every single match apart from Wrexham at home, which he came on at half time. So you can't say he hasn't had the minutes. He's had more minutes than his performances have deserved. But it's not just Conway. The strikers we've got at the club, and again, I don't like talking about the previous manager too much because I know it's a touchy subject, but there's a reason he set up to nick goals, because he knew what we had. They weren't prolific. So now all we're doing now is we're having much more of the ball, which is fine. This isn't a pop at the current manager because it's really early days. And we're creating moments and opportunities to in dangerous spaces, but the people at the top end of the pitch aren't good enough. And obviously go on.
Because Jacob, they're not in those positions. We had 2 forwards playing last night. Conway was, especially first half, he was continually playing on the right wing.
Yeah.
And Sene was making some fantastic runs, some arcing runs, and he's wanting the ball played behind. But I looked at him time and time again, and he made a run every time the midfield had the ball, and he never got played in once.
Yeah.
It must be so frustrating for him. And then when we do get the ball into the box, we haven't got anybody in there.
Well,
they had.
To me,
carry on.
The big issue was when I had a bit of a dig about playing Hackney out on the left. The issue, what they were trying to do, is obviously they had Hackney on the left, and then they had Conway and Sen go wide, hoping that 2 10s would occupy the striker spot. But what was happening is, like you were saying, is both our strikers were running wide and no one was filling the gap. So there was nobody actually up front. There was no one in that position for a lot of the game. And again, this is a big concern with Conway again, and the other strikers is all season. We've had 3 managers if you count Vivesh, and not one of them seems to have said to Conway, at some point you can't just stand behind the 6'4" centre back for every cross. I've never seen one of our strikers do a front post run all season. No one has ran in front of the defender for a cross. So, I mean, Callum Britton, the crosses weren't fantastic. It's bad if you have 4 different corner takers in 40 minutes. The corners were atrocious, but there was still 3 or 4 times where good enough ball went in that box for someone to attack it or get in front of the man. But I see it far too often from the Borough team where we seem to stand behind defenders and make it really easy for them to get the first contact.
Yeah, late on in the second half, I mean, Callum Britton put 3 great low hard crosses in, but unfortunately there were no red shirts to find. They weren't there, and it was just food and drink for their defenders just to knock it clear. And you mentioned corners there. I was going to bring that up later on, but you've mentioned it now. So I don't know. I don't know what we do on the training ground with regards corners, because we never have a variation of corner. We don't have although there was one last night that went behind everybody, and that was when we were kicking towards the south stand first half. There seems to be very little variation, and we just don't win enough. We don't win enough headers in the box from crosses or from corners. I think there was a stat somebody put on Twitter: 41 crosses into the box, and we met 1 of them. That's terrible. It's a really bad stat.
But at what point I hate short corners, like despise them. But if there was a time you were going to play a short corner last night, it was probably in that game, because if you looked at the height of the Hull team compared to the Middlesbrough team, and all we did all night was swing crosses in the box. So there's an argument in terms of was that the right approach to the game? I'm all for. I love when teams get the ball wide and bombard the box with crosses if players are attacking the ball or they're on the second ball straight away. But there was too much just hitting it in the box last night for me, and it was a bit like, if you looked at their defenders, Crooks, McBurney when he comes on, they're not small lads, so it was always going to be an ask to be winning lots of duels against them. So I have to question Hellberg a little bit in terms of was that the best plan for that game, to just swing balls in the box? But yeah, whatever the plan was, to put 41 in and attack, win the contact of one of them, forget tactics. That's very poor.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
It is. And you opened this up by talking about Tommy Conway. I mean, I want to see him in and around the box, not on the touch line out on the left hand side or the right hand side. Or sometimes, I mean, even Luke Ayling was further forward on a couple of occasions last night, which baffled me. He's one of the two main strikers. We need him in the box. We need him on the shoulder of the centre halves, making runs, pulling the centre half away for space for Sen, or vice versa. But they were so far apart. It was like Jacob said there. It was almost at times that we didn't have anyone down the middle. Nobody through the middle.
Yeah.
I think he was hiding. I think he was hiding a bit, though. I guess when a player's out of form, they're so desperate not to miss, not to do something, that sometimes means that they just don't do anything. And he's got to stop this thing of throwing himself on the floor. There's far too many players, because, to be fair, I'll say it, by coming a little bit Wolf, the one time he has been was Stoke up, where we could have argued the penalty. They're just not going to give that actually penalties. So this is another
Sheffield Wednesday away when Lumley.
Yeah. I think he's getting a name for himself.
Mm-hmm. Possibly.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And one thing I've noticed about Conway as well, there's no happy medium with him. Like you said, there's times where he just hide away and he's not doing the job that he should do. But then there's times where he's doing a bit too much. Like there was an instance in the second half last night. He was around the centre circle trying to get the ball and trying to create something. Well, you don't really need your number 9 to go and do that. That's what you've got a midfield for. That's what you've got a midfield 2 for. They're the ones there that gather the ball and spray it out wide, spray it forward, whatever they may do. He doesn't need to go and chase that. He doesn't need to be that player. He just needs to get in the position, especially when you're one down as well, to say, if you get the ball, I'm going to be in the place where you're going to put the ball into, and I'm going to be there. And that probably does contribute to the fact that we only got on the end of 1 out of 41 crosses. Because you can't. Go on.
I want Conway to be marked rather than him marking the centre halves or the midfielders. I want the centre halves to be worried about him and be marking him. And hopefully, if he drifts wide, if he does drift wide, it'll mean that Sene or Strelec or whoever's playing alongside him can come into that space. But he's not doing that.
No, he's too busy. At times he chases the play too much, and I think at times as a striker you've just got to sit on the periphery and keep away from the main play and just be there, ready and available for when the time comes where the ball is available to be put into that final third area, in between the lines of the box. Be there. Just Cali Sen did that as well. But he was also guilty of having to go out wide and get the ball and do his bits and bobs. But as I say, because he's got a lot of strength. If you put the ball into him, he can hold that ball up. Last night frustrated me. It frustrated me a lot. I thought there was a lot wrong last night. thought the formation was wrong. They say it was obvious what was going to happen as soon as Hull scored, which came from our mistake, by the way. It wasn't something they created. It came from our mistake.
It was Alan Brown, wasn't it?
Yeah, Alan Brown's dodgy pass, unfortunately. Say, and a couple of defenders too busy appealing that the ball had gone out from Carl Joseph before he crossed the ball in, and it hadn't. It was nowhere near going out, unfortunately.
Yeah. But
it was just disappointing.
It was disappointing. You're right. I mean, that was their one shot on target, and they'd done nothing the rest of the game. They didn't need to. Don't get me wrong. I think once they got 10 men behind the ball as quickly as they could, we have that problem that's existed for seasons now, where we struggle to break down that solid defense. You know, we lack the creativity or the pace or the nous to create something when teams set up like that. Yeah, I mean, it won't bother the Hull players or the Hull fans that they hardly troubled us. They've took 3 points and now they're sitting 2 points behind us. I mean, the last 3 games at Bristol, Blackburn and Hull, I thought that out the 3, the best opponents for me were Blackburn. They threatened us a hell of a lot more. I know they didn't score, but they threatened us a hell of a lot more than Bristol City did, who scored 2. I know it sounds bizarre, but Blackburn were more of a threat. They were the better team, in my opinion, than the last 3 games we played. Yet Blackburn sits in the lower half of the table, and Hull and Bristol are further up. Hull now just being 2 points behind us.
Yeah. Exactly. I think I read somewhere, I haven't had it myself, we had, over the 3 games that you mentioned there, we've had 63 shots on goal, and we've had less than 10 on target.
And we haven't scored, yeah.
Yeah, less than 10 on target. That's the big worry, because I've seen a lot of obviously discussions now, you know, what do we need in January? Do we need to look for a striker? Do we need to look for the creativity that goes to creating the chances? For me, one, you've got to look at covering McGree, because I think McGree's a big miss. But 2, you've got to find someone that's going to, like we've mentioned, a plan B. You know, it gives you something a bit different off the bench. You know, but if it has to be your target man, you know, that's what it's got to be. We need something different. We can't rely on plan A working all the time, because we've seen over the last 3 games it simply doesn't.
I don't know if you agree, but the last few matches felt very similar to last season at times, in terms of under Michael Carrick, where we seem to be becoming a bit of a crop to the low block again. You know, I think Bristol City in the second half, I know I mentioned it, when they went 5-4-1.
Yeah.
And you're going to see it more and more now. And this is where Middlesbrough teams have struggled over the last few seasons, when teams completely sit. And again, it's early days. Hopefully we're going to transition and kick on and get used to it. But this is a slight change in, we're now having a lot more possession of the ball. Obviously, we're not playing 3 at the back anymore. We're playing 4 at the back. So we're slightly more vulnerable on the counter than we were, which is, it's all risk and reward. We've now got 20% extra of the ball than we were having before, 15%. So, you know, there's arguments both ways. We've got more possession, so hopefully we create more chances. And again, it's not like we're not getting in good positions. We're just not scoring or creating enough good opportunities. And it's not like we're conceding goals for fun, because we didn't concede against Blackburn and we didn't win, and we only conceded 1 to Hull. So, you know, I'm not suggesting that we're leaking goals too much, but I think it's just a slight tweak between, we know the standard of attackers we've got.
Yeah.
And sadly, if we don't keep a clean sheet in some games, then we ain't going to win, because we're not going to score every game. And I know when Hellberg came in the first few games, we scored 4, we scored 2, we scored 3 against QPR, you know, and everyone just thought, oh well, he's took them off the reins. You know, it was the last manager. He was too defensive, and now they've got a bit more freedom. And I never believed that, because I don't believe we could ever keep that up because of the standard of strikers we've got. So I think it's probably Hellberg's problem. I mean, he seemed a bit confused in his interview, a little bit frustrated. Like he said, we've come from scoring 4 and 3 in the games, and now we haven't scored in 3 games. So there's something amiss. We won't have changed much tactically, but at the end of the day, I just think that's what we've got up front. And we're just going to have to be careful on transitions and counters, and almost having too much of the ball for our own good at times. Because again, I know we'll get on to it. We're going to play Derby, and John Eustace will give you 70% of the ball at Derby and hope he nicks a goal, and he'll say, well, come and break us down. And it worries me that we're getting to that point again where we're having a lot of the ball, but for what? And I don't want us to end up like that again.
Yeah, in my opinion, we have to win against Derby, because I can see Ipswich beating Oxford. So if we don't win, then Ipswich go above us, which I don't want to see. I want to. I obviously want to get back to winning ways. I want performances to improve from the last 3 games. But let's not sort of crucify anybody, especially the manager. He's been in charge 7 games.
No,
he's won 4.
No,
he's won 4, drew 1, lost 2. Now, he probably made a rod for his own back when he won the first 4. If the wins had been dispersed between those 7 games, it wouldn't have looked so bad. But yeah, we're all disappointed with 2 home defeats over Christmas in front of sellout crowds, and the away loss at Bristol City. But let's hope that he can sort of get things right. Let's hope we can get a few players back from injury. Obviously, Malanda will be available to play soon. And then the January transfer window might give us some opportunities. So let's just keep our fingers crossed that those last 3 games, the performance has improved and we don't continue as we were. Can I just ask you, by the way? Can I just ask you? Blackburn.
Yeah.
Aidan Hackney, red card or not?
Yes.
Jacob?
No, I think it was just a very, very bad yellow card.
Jacob, that's well, that surprised me, because you're normally sort of very pragmatic, and I thought you'd say it without a shadow of a doubt. It was petulant. It was dangerous. I thought it was a red card all day long. I was really surprised when the referee only produced a yellow. I was pleased, obviously, but yeah. And then looking back at replays, Jesus, that was that. And I know he was frustrated, and it was a bit like that guy in the darts who was punching hell out the table when he got beat. It was frustration, but I thought he was going to walk. But okay, Jacob, why didn't you think it was a red?
I don't know really. I can't really explain. I mean, it was a bad tackle, but again, I just think it was. I don't know. I don't like to see referees really produce that many red cards, but I don't know. I know. It's hard for me to actually argue. Normally, I'm quite good at arguing, but I can't argue with you if you give a red. It was one of them where like you could make a huge case for it not being a red card, but I don't know. It was a bad foul. You know, if a referee give a red, I wouldn't moan at him. I just think if I was the referee, I'd have given me yellow and said, if you breathe on another person, then you're going to get sent off.
Well, not only did he kick him halfway up his leg, he then grabbed the other Blackburn player by the throat, which some referees see that as a red card straight away anyway. So I just think
he was very lucky, very, very lucky.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. That's fair enough. I just thought I'd ask, because I've read all the arguments going back and forward on on social media. So I thought I'd ask you guys.
Yeah. But put it this way, if it was the other way around and their player had done that to us, we'd all be screaming for it. Absolutely screaming for a red card. It was. I think I probably summed up the frustration, to be quite honest, for Hayden to do that, because surprisingly he has been quite level-headed this season. He hasn't been quite as rash as he usually is. Yeah, fair enough. He's still got the odds yellow card in him. He's still got the tackle in him that can get him an easy yellow card, but he's not done anything like that. I think last time I saw him do something like that was Coventry at home, when you got them 2 yellow cards within the first 20 odd minutes on New Year's Day. And they say they beat us quite comfortably after that. So I say that was the last time I saw him do anything as petulant as that. I just thought, you lucky boy, you're really lucky. But yeah, we'll quickly finish on Hull. Do I dare ask for a man of the match? Because this one I did struggle with. I've got to admit, I did struggle with this one. There's too many.
I'll go straight away. I'll say Callum Britton. I thought
I
thought he had a decent game. I thought he was trying to put dangerous balls into the box, especially in the second half when he was kicking towards the north stand. He slung in the space of 5 minutes, about 2 or 3 fantastic crosses, ready made for an alert striker to get in front of the defender and just touch it in. Something that Jacob spoke about earlier, beating your defender to the first ball. But unfortunately, we didn't have that last night. But my man of the match was Callum Britton.
Jacob?
Yeah, I agree. Callum Britton, very good.
Very good. Yeah, he was my man of the match as well. I say another game where he just ran his socks off up and down down the flank. It's coming to common.
He's been a fantastic signing, and so has Alfie Jones. He's been unfortunate. He's had a red card, which meant he missed a game. He's got an injury and he missed the game against Hull. But other than that, they're the type of signings I would love us to make. Players who can give you very good to excellent performances week in, week out, consistently good. And those two have been absolutely head and shoulders above the rest of the team, in my opinion, for consistency.
Yeah. Other shampoo products are available. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. He has been the best signing that we have made. I've been massively impressed with Callum Britton. I really have.
Yeah.
And a bargain as well, an absolute bargain. He was worth the extra negotiations we had to make in the summer to get him in. So, because I know, was it Blackburn arriving over $250,000 more that they wanted to let him go? I think it's proof that the money that we put forward for him, it's proved right, because he's been brilliant. And it was an area that we needed to fill as well. Ayling is not quite a right back anymore. Dijksteel started to deceive at times. Britton, very rare you see a bad performance from him. He fills that position very, very well now. So yeah, he's been brilliant for me. So yeah, there you go. That's the games for 2025 done. Before I do a quick preview for what we think will happen in our first 2 games of 2026, let's have a quick chat about 2025. I know we haven't got long left, but it's been a bit of an up and down year, JD. We came into 2025 with a lot of optimism, a lot of hope, because I say we were in the thick of of the promotion fight, and we were in there, and unfortunately that did die off, and we've swapped managers twice. Obviously now we're with Kim Hellberg. We're back, not just in the thick of a promotion fight. We're not just for the playoffs. We're in for the automatics as well, which is more than I ever expected. What have you made of 2025?
Well, it's certainly been an interesting year. I feel as though we're in decent hands. I was disappointed how last season ended. Obviously, finishing did we finish 10th?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We finished 10th, and that was really sort of below everybody's expectations. And as a result, a change was made at the club, and Edwards came in, and then another change was made when he jumped ship. But I think we're in good hands now. I'm just hopeful next year we can have a little bit of luck with injuries. I hope we can find in the January transfer window a couple of future stars to help boost our squad. And we're still sitting second. We're still in control of our own destiny. We've got it's a massive opportunity. It really is a big opportunity that we've got, because the teams that most bookmakers thought would be challenging at the top of the division, Leicester, Southampton, I know Ipswich are up there now, but they've had slow starts. Sheffield United had a slow start, but they're sort of gathering a bit of momentum. But as it stands, we have it in our own hands. I just hope that we can make some brave and the correct decisions in the January transfer window that will strengthen our position, not weaken it, as we've seen in previous January transfer windows. So I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful for 26. And it's 25 leaves us, and we're in a good place.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good way to put it, because we have made progress from this time last year. I know we're still in the fight for promotion, and I know it didn't quite go our way in the middle part of the year, and where I mean, it wasn't really the middle part of the year that kills the last season for me. It was the beginning part of 2025. As they're not winning in so many games really did kill us off, unfortunately, and knocked our momentum completely off. But Jacob, what have you made of 2025?
Yeah, I think, like John said, it's been a bit unpredictable. There's probably quite a low point under Carrick. As you know, I just had enough of him. So kind of whatever was happening, I was just a bit emotionless towards it, because I just in my head I knew he's a needy man. He was never going to get the club over the line. He was never going to get the club out the division, and that's how I felt. So obviously we part company with Carrick, got in the manager that I wanted. So again, naturally, go higher. Doesn't last very long. Leaves the football club. The one manager that I wanted. So that was a bit of a kick in the balls a bit, to be honest. And then obviously we've moved on to Kim Hellberg, a bit of an unknown quantity. And again, it's too early to judge. I mean, if I got the job at a club and my first 7 matches I'd won 4, then you'd be spinning that as that you've done a half decent job in the 7 games that you've had. So, he's doing okay. He's doing good. If we take the block of 7 games, which you have to, you can't. If you took every game in isolation, then you would become just an emotional wreck, because games change and they're so different game to game. So in the next 7 matches, if Borough win 4, we'll probably still be in the top 2, or at least we'll definitely be in the top 3. So we've just got to, I think, again, kind of wipe almost like a clean slate going into the Derby game, right? We've started really well when he came in. and now the last 3 games we haven't scored a goal. So again, we've got to make sure we go to Derby, keep a clean sheet, keep it tight at the back, don't let them get you on the counter attack. But we've got to also go there and try and be a bit more creative. So I think we're, like you said, from early 2025 or 2025, we're statistically and factually, we've made progress. We're sitting in a much better position in the league. So there's no reason to be doom and gloom, really.
No, definitely not. Yeah.
Well said.
No, you're absolutely right. Yes, it puts us in a good position for 2026. So, should we talk about the first 2 games for 2026? Because we start. It's not an easy start of 2026. It's away to Derby and at home to Southampton over a busy weekend. Obviously, we've got Derby New Year's Day and then Southampton on the 4th. 2 teams, JD, that are, one's trying to get into the fight. The other is recovering from a bad start and is now well and truly in the fight. What kind of tests are you expecting from Derby and Southampton?
Well, you think out of the 2 teams, Southampton have they're the more dangerous team. They have more quality. They've got more big game experience. But at our place, I think we can. I'm hoping we get a couple of players back, and our options are more varied to choose from for the starting 11. But we go to Derby with, on the back of a poor 3-game run. I'm just hoping that the determination is there to fight for every ball. To like Jacob mentioned there, we've got to keep a clean sheet. Start from that. We've got to keep a clean sheet because if they do manage to get a goal, John Eustace he'll just fill everybody behind the ball at every opportunity, and we know how frustrating that can be and how we often fail to break that down. So we've got to concentrate first and foremost on not conceding, but then also when we've got the ball, let's move it quickly. Let's move it through the midfield. Let's hope we've got the forward line that's more mobile than we saw on at the whole game. But Callisen was mobile, but he just wasn't being fed the ball. He was making some great runs, but he just wasn't fed the ball. And I don't know what 11 that Hellberg will put out, because we don't know whether he'll rest Conway, whether he'll start him. We don't know whether Senny will start or Hansen. I just don't know at the moment. I can't second guess it. But I want us to go to Derby and fight like hell to get back on winning on a winning run, and just maintain our second position into the new year. It's got to be it. It's got to be a win at any costs, and I don't mind if it's an ugly 1-0 win. But I hope we go there and we play with purpose, and we keep the ball well, and we're a bit more creative, and we're a bit more controlled when it comes to balls into the box. Because I sometimes think a few of the balls against Hull were more hopeful than directional, and that's where we fell down. Danny Bath and Matt Clark, both big lads. If we haven't got anybody big up there, it's pointless knocking long balls into the box, because them two, it'll just be food and drink all day.
Yeah, would you agree with that, Jacob?
Yeah, definitely. I think the whole Derby game depends on the lineup that we play. I'm hoping this Malander can play. Pretty physical, looks tall. He'd be in the team if I'm playing Derby, if he can be. Gilbert can't be in the team if you're playing away at Derby, especially not in midfield. In terms of physical battle, So I think it's all team dependent. He has to get the lineup right. I think he's had his, you know, he's obviously tried to prove a point by playing a couple of people that were out in the cold. But I think we need to maybe come to terms that Gilbert had a decent game at Hull, but he's probably not the answer long term. And there's a reason he didn't play at all under the last manager and got loaned out under the manager before that. So Michael Hamilton obviously won't play, but shouldn't be near the lineup again for the rest of the season because he just doesn't warrant to play. So we've got to play with what we know can deliver the results that they have throughout the season. Not just be handing out games to random people willy-nilly.
Oh, he went from sitting on the fence to, was it a red card or not, to just absolutely putting people in the shade. You're not playing for the club again. Soon jumped off that fence, didn't he? No, it's fair. For me, you've got to make a fast start at Derby. We have to make a really fast start because I think clubs and managers have got this figured out, unfortunately, now. If you weather the first 15, 20 minutes against us and then just take a little bit of a step back, that's when the frustration can kick in on our side. And teams know that. Blackburn knew that. Bristol City knew that. Hull definitely knew that. Obviously scoring early and just sat back straight away, and then that was that. Yeah, it's becoming the theme. So start quick, get the early goal. Don't have to argue about it then, do you? So simple as that. So with that being said then, I'll start with you, Jacob, because you were so positive with your 1-1 and 0-0 for Blackburn and Hull. Score prediction firstly for Derby.
1-0 Derby.
Brilliant. Right. But have you got a goal scorer for Derby?
G-Man.
Okay. JD?
2-0 Borough. Tommy Conway.
Yeah, I'm going to go 1-0.
You must get some good odds on that now.
No, the bookies don't give anything away. I know he's been on a poor scoring run for this season, but the bookies, they'll see him. He's playing. He's a striker. They won't give us long odds on that, unfortunately. I'd like to think so.
I'll go 1-0. 1-0, and I think Bergshaw will go get the goal. He'll get the winner. It'll be a tight game at Derby. So then one's gone for a defeat, we've gone for wins. Going to the Southampton game. Start with you, JD. Prediction for Southampton.
2-1 Borough, and a goal from Hayden Hackney.
Lovely. Jacob?
2-1 Borough. Hansen.
He's got Derby beating us, but Southampton, one of the form teams in the league, will come here and get beat. Right, okay. Fair enough.
Well, to be honest, that's the championship. It can happen. So yeah.
I'm gonna double up. I'm gonna another 1-0, and I'm gonna go a bit left field. I'm gonna go Matt Target to get the winner. I think we'll surprise everyone, and it'll be a corner. We'll get the winner from. So there you go. That'll be some odds. And one thing about the Southampton game, obviously, that's our memorial game, where we will remember all those that have been lost in 2025. So there will be something before kick-off that the club will play. There'll be a montage on the screen that people are going to be sending in. There'll be past players on there, people linked with the club, obviously fans as well. And one guy, obviously, that will be on there is Chris Rea. One thing I did hear, I know you mentioned it, JD, to me, but I heard it before the whole game that when the players were all getting in the huddles and having the final chats about, what time they're going to order the Dominoes for and all that sort of stuff. I did hear Steel River being played. What did you think about that being played before kick-off?
Yeah, the last two games, just before kickoff, they played the opening few lines to Steel River, and they put the lyrics on the big screen. That's a song I do like, and well, I'd like to see it continue. I would hope the fans could maybe sing along to the first few lines, just to sort of get everybody in the mood. I like it. I like what the club have done. Obviously, since the announcement of Chris Reed passing away just before Christmas. So see if it continues and see how it goes.
Yeah, Jacob, are you in agreement?
No, I like it. Yeah, I mean, I do. I mean, I observe some of the debates that people have online about what's the right thing to play for walkout or just after they've walked out, and you know, an anthem doesn't need to be too upbeat. You know, some of the most famous football anthems or songs are slower and more, you know, have more meaning of the lyrics rather than a beat. So I think it'd be nice if the Borough fans made Steel River their own chant or song, and learned some of the lyrics to that. And you know, when you go to Sheffield Wednesday, and you know, just before the kick off, they have a chant. You go to Bramall Lane, they've got one. You know, it can add to the atmosphere, and if you get that level of consistency, I think that's the issue with the Borough, is that they're trying different things, which is great because they're trying to improve the atmosphere, but we never seem to just stick with one. So it would be nice to just maybe go with one for the rest of the season, see how we get on, try and encourage people to, like John said, learn the words and almost make a bit of a thing of it. I think the bigger issue is sometimes the music that plays before it kind of just kills it, but that's another debate. I mean, I don't know if anyone noticed, but they had Sinatra's Fly Me to the Moon, and they only sang the first lyric. They only played the first line of that song and then turned that one off straight away. So whoever was doing the songs, I think he was just obsessed with just playing one-liners. So but that's another debate anyway. So.
Yeah. The thing is, Steel River it's unique to our area. You know, it's about our area, and you're not going to get universal acceptance from everybody regarding what song should be played or should be sung at a particular time, because people have their own choices, their own opinions. But obviously, with Chris Rea passing away, and I remember that song from when years ago in '86 when we were 86, 87 season when we were promoted. Time T's done a documentary of the promotion season, and that song was at the start of it, and you know it wasn't the first time I'd heard it, but it's the first time that I really listened to the lyrics and I associated it with our town, and it stuck with me since.
Yeah, I like Steel River. Yeah, why can't we make it one of our own? I do love the political answer that Jacob gave. I observe people's arguments. That was superb. For getting there. Said like a true backbencher. So yeah, if you are going to the Southampton game, they say getting a few minutes early. Obviously, there's a lot of respects and tributes paid to people that have been lost in the past year, as part of the memorial celebrations for the ones lost in 2025. So yeah, if you can get in early, please do so. But just like that, that's our last podcast done for 2025. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming and spending the last hour with me. Have a great new year. Hopefully 2026 is your best yet. So yeah, thank you very much. To the people that listened, that do listen and comment and like and subscribe and get involved with us, and they're always getting in touch with us. Thank you. You've made us grow even bigger this year. I say we've grown even bigger and better. But there's no stopping that. I say we'll keep doing that in 2026, and we'll speak to you again next Monday. We'll be back next Monday. There's no game next Monday, so we'll be back 7 o'clock. if you listen live, obviously, you can catch us on your popular platforms through all your podcasts and stuff. But yeah, thank you so much for 2025. All the best for the new year. Arrivederci, up the borough, be see you.